to get a pie plate, which I'm using Pyrex lately. I've been experimenting with them a little bit, and I've decided that I like the aspect that I can see through the Pyrex to see when my crust looks like it's done on the bottom. And I'm going to spray that with some baker spray. Now the odd aspect of this when I roll out my crust is that we're using cinnamon rolls. I know, that's weird, but I use cinnamon rolls. And I've gotten to where I roll them out on plastic. I've taken these plastic bags, the real large plastic bags, and I've cut them down and used the two sides, and I find that makes it a lot easier to work with the dough. Now I'm hoping this is warm enough up to room temperature to where that I don't have to play with it too much. And I hope I can get it out of here too. Well, there we go. Looks like it'll be okay. Now, I have not done this before, so I'm kind of experimenting as we go, and I shouldn't need the icing, but I'm thinking that might be enough. I want to flour that plastic first a little bit. So that the dough does not stick to it so much. And then I'll just place these down on it. Yeah, they seem pliable enough. I already smell the cinnamon in them. Now I'll sprinkle a little bit more of the flour on top, like that. Place the other piece of plastic over it. And try and roll them together and out. Oh, that's going to work.
Ooh.
My wife is, and the camera person is oohing behind the camera. It does not look good. And I've thawed out a couple of cans of this in case I don't have enough here. It looks like I'm going to have enough. And all I care about is doing the bottom portion, because I want to use, for convenience here, I'm going to use a pre-made refrigerated crust for the top. I've been making my own crust a lot lately. I have a recipe on my Facebook site that my stepfather had used, and it seems to work real well too. But for expedience purposes, I'm going to use a pre-made crust this time. It looks like that might be just about right, doesn't it? And if not, I can make up with it. Gently taking this back and trying to leave the centers. There we go. And then I'll bring my pie plate over to it, like that. Slide underneath it, turn it upside down like that. And that gets it pretty close to where we want it to be. And then, like any other pie crust, you would tear off the edges and fill in the cracks and all that kind of stuff. All right. And then form fit it around. And I'm only concerned with getting this bottom portion here. You see, this is one of the Pyrex ones that have the lip on it to make it easy to make a pretty edge. Well, I'm going to use that pretty edge with the pre-made crust. I'm going to cut it off there. It stretches too much. Yeah, that's real stretchy. Okay, that looks like it's pretty close to being there. Now we'll let that set for a couple of minutes. And I've got a couple of cans of the already made apple filling. It's got its own sugar and everything in it, so I'll just empty those. I happen to like the Kroger version of their vegetables and this as well, because some you don't see on a lot of the other brand names. This is actually like enameled inside, and I'm thinking in my mind, I have no proof for it, but in my mind I'm tending to think that, hey, that's probably better for you. It doesn't impart any of the tin or zinc or metal taste that you would get into some of the other varieties. Could be wrong. Now, I'm going to start with 2 cans. I've got another can back in the pantry if I need a 3rd can. We'll see how high this piles and see if I do need a 3rd can. That pie plate is a 9.5-inch well in it, so I might need a 3rd. Now to that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of cinnamon. That is 1 tablespoon. A teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon. And a teaspoon of ginger. And that's a teaspoon. Mix that up a little bit. But you see what we're doing today. Put that in the pie. I thought about pre-baking this pie crust, like I say, but no, I don't think I'm going to pre-bake. All right, that looks a little thin, so I think I'm going to add the other can, and I'll be right back. Because I like a pie that's kind of heaves up in the middle a little bit. All right. That looks pretty good. All right, now on my pie crust, or my apple pies, I like them to have a little bit of a buttery flavor. So I add several pats of butter. We only have butter around here. We don't allow margarine in the house. And most of the time it's salt-free butter. I find that works out best around here. And 1 more because I like butter. Okay. Now we'll set that aside, and just for a second or so, get out one of the pre-made crusts that have been brought to room temperature. See if we can roll that out gently. This happens to be a Pillsbury crust. Let's see if we can roll that out gently. There we go. Okay, so we're going to try and do something with these little cutters. I like these cutters, but I haven't had much of a chance to play with them, so I'll put a couple of little stars in there. Oh, that's cute. and maybe one there, one there. I guess since it's a pie, I could make a Big Dipper. No, maybe not. And then I'll bring this pie back over and hopefully be able to put that crust on it. Lift it up like this, and this, and lay it over like that. Well, isn't that pretty? Now, like I say, this pie pan, this Pyrex pie pan, has waffled edges around it, so all you really need to do is press this down in it, and it gives you sort of an attractive crust, like that. Okay. Now, I like to put a little bit of sugar on top, just so it crystallizes and sort of gives it that extra little oomph. And I have a pie shield go around it. Goes around most of it, all but the very last bit, and so I'll shift that halfway through to make sure it's nice. And I put it in the bottom rack of the oven. And it's going to cook for probably 45 minutes or so, but the first half of that time is going to be in the bottom, so that the bottom portion of the crust gets browned properly. And with that, we'll take a break. I allowed the pie to cook for 20 minutes on the lower shelf. Then I took it out and I moved this band around so it'd cover the rest. It still got pretty warm. And I allowed it to finish cooking for about another 40 or another 20 minutes on top of that on the middle shelf. Then brought it out, set it on the rack, and allowed it to cool. So we're getting ready to cut into it now, and we'll see if we think it's any good. And it seems to have cooled sufficiently. So I'll see if I can cut into it a little bit. Stars turned out real nice, didn't they? Still a little warm, so it's breaking up a little bit, but that's it's all right. That'll be all right once it cools off a little bit. All right, let's see how this, especially the crust, tastes. Oh, yum. That's real tasty. And there you have it, apple pie with a cinnamon roll crust. Thank you for watching.
You like mom's apple pie, good sweet